I think the biggest story for free agency, at least for me, and Steve and Jesse can be like, what the hell are you talking about, is what is going on with the Carolina Hurricanes. The Nedeljkovic trade, signing Freddie Anderson to they call it a short-term deal, but 3 years is a long time. And
2 years.
Or is it 2 years? Oh, was it 2 years? And then it was 3 for Antti Ranta, wasn't it? Or was that 2 years as well? I think
that was two times
I think
two.
It's 2 years as
well.
So
regardless, it doesn't seem like they've saved a whole bunch of money in goaltending. Their final offer to Dougie Hamilton was, from what we've heard, Sarah Sivian said somewhere in the neighborhood of $6.2 million a season. David Pagnotta had it closer to $7 million, but it was well under what he was going to get paid. It seems, and the Tony DeAngelo signing as well. What is the goal here with Carolina? I wish I could ask the question better, but what are they working with an internal cap? I thought Tom Dundon was flush with cash here. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I think that the best way to put it is they don't spend money that they don't feel they have to spend. And, they make a lot of smart decisions as an organization. Like, I don't think anyone can get around that. If you look back at their trading history, like, they have consistently found value in trades, all the way back to getting like Teuvo Teravainen from Chicago when they were cap squeezed. I just think they've consistently, improved around the margins, and that's why they've become the team they have. I mean, obviously they have some special young players too, but they've been efficient. And so they approached their goaltending that Alex Nedeljkovic, I think there was still some concerns that, yes, he had a breakthrough season this year. I know he's trended in the right direction, former AHL goalie of the year, someone they know well. I think that they weren't ready to give him the big money. And so they're not afraid to trade someone like that, even though it opens them up, exposes them to criticism, second guessing, the potential of being wrong. I think that they're comfortable doing that. With Dougie Hamilton, I mean, they took the first salvo here was they said, hey, go talk to the whole league for 2 months, like ahead of free agency, because their bet or their calculation was that the market wouldn't be as good for him as maybe Dougie thought, and that there was a chance he would come back to Carolina. And I think, he was willing to. The money just was never going to be the kind of money he got in New Jersey. And so, I feel like we have to separate the Tony DeAngelo decision, because that really, there's a separate conversation there. There's nothing to do with hockey. But if we're just talking about the hockey side of their offseason, I think they believe that they can let players walk, that they will hold a certain line. They were only going to pay Rod Brindamore so much as head coach. He did come back. They've even done it with their broadcasters, right? They lost John Forsland, who's, one of the best play-by-play guys in the game. He's in Seattle now. They do things their own way, and they're betting on their efficiency. And so I think it's that simple. Tom Dundon has shown he'll spend when there's a reason to. He matched the Aho offer sheet. They have a big decision right now on Svechnikov, who's a restricted free agent, but, clearly is in line for a monster raise. They'll spend it where they can, because you're not replacing Svechnikov anywhere. But, I think that they believe they can replace their goaltending, and they can even find ways around losing Dougie Hamilton that will cost them less money.
Mm-hmm. Well, CJ, we really appreciate your time, because the Svechnikov offer sheet has to be coming any moment now, right?
I don't think so. I think that's the beauty of matching the Aho offer sheet in a sense. Like when Montreal tabled the offer sheet to Sebastian Aho, they believed that Tom Dundon wouldn't match. Like they weren't doing that just to try to mess things up there. They thought that Carolina was a team that would be cheap and that they would just let him walk and take the draft pick compensation and move on. Obviously they matched within a day or even less, and kind of made a statement in doing so. And so I think that's going to scare teams off of doing a Svechnikov. I mean, I actually think if we're talking offer sheets, like it shouldn't be for the superstars necessarily, because I think teams more often than not will match on a superstar. It's for the second tier talent. A team like Tampa, has been both last offseason and this one, to me, more vulnerable, because you might give a guy like a $2 million contract in an offer sheet, which only costs a third-round pick, I believe. And Tampa might just be like, you know what, we can't keep him. Like, it's just the price. We're not able to hold on to him. Could be a superstar, but I wonder even about Carter Hart in Philadelphia. The Flyers have done a lot of spending. If you look at it right now, I don't have their Puckpedia or Cap Friendly page up right now, but I know they don't have a ton of money left for him. Maybe you come for him, and he might be a superstar in the making, but he didn't have a superstar season. Like, I feel like we should be targeting maybe some of the less obvious names when it comes to offer sheets, but obviously teams, they don't believe in it. It hasn't proven to be a good way to get players out of other teams, and so everyone just doesn't bother.
Because they've done nothing and they're all out of ideas. Like, it's not like it happens all the time. It hasn't proven to be good because it hasn't happened. I mean,
right, and you got to compel a player to sign it, right?
Yeah,
that is the flip side. Like last year, if I'm remembering Tampa right, they had to sign Sergachev, they had to sign Chernak, they had to sign
Cirelli
as well, right? So they had all these RFAs, plus they had their own tricky cap situation. Like, you have to convince those guys coming off a Stanley Cup to sign an offer sheet with you and to leave Tampa, which, let's face it, objectively is one of the best situations you could be playing in the NHL. Just lifestyle, tax, weather, great team, great organization, great owner. There's almost nothing not to like about being a Tampa Bay Lightning, other than the fact some guys can't get fair market value just because of their cap situation. But anyway, yeah, I do think we're going to see it, though. Like, there's like this much hope in me that we're going to start to see less true hockey people running teams. We're starting to see that in a sense. Like, the hockey isn't catching up fully to the other sports, but we've seen this, in baseball. You got like NASA engineers running teams and stuff. I think that's going to come to hockey, and I think that those type of people will identify market inefficiencies and will maybe make offer sheets more of a thing than they have been in the last 10 years or so.
Going around the league here with a couple other teams who have made some signings, what do you make of the situation going on in Vegas right now, where in the last, 7 months, they've lost Schmidt and they've lost Reeves and they've lost Marc-Andre Fleury, and the players leaving there seem to have no good things to say about the franchise and how their time was spent there. Do you think there's a problem there with them having too much turnover in their players, and do you think it's a conversation amongst the guys?
Well, it's certainly a bit of a conversation around the league, and the organization makes no apologies for it. Like, they're trying to win a Stanley Cup, and it's a fine line, right? Because they've won so many games. They keep building a great team. They've been aggressive through trades and in free agency. Like, I feel like if you're a fan, other than the fact you might have bought a jersey of a player who's now playing somewhere else and you're disappointed to see your favorite guy go, this is sort of what fans demand of their teams, is they're literally turning over every stone they can to win a Stanley Cup. But there's a price to that, right? I mean, first of all, there's no guarantees you win a cup, of course. But secondly, is there is a reputational factor there. But, I think it's a reasonable bet that guys are going to want to keep playing in Vegas. It actually reminds me of Tampa. Has all the same benefits. It's a great place to live, a great place to be, for your family in terms of weather and the school setup, and the tax situation's favorable. The team's great. It's an awesome building, great fan base. I mean, I think guys are still going to want to play there. But, they're pushing the envelope in some ways. The Fleury situation too, though, maybe hasn't been discussed in its full nuance either. I mean, a decision was made where, Alan Walsh's agent tweeted out the picture on Twitter when he wasn't starting the games in the bubble in 2020. And the organization didn't forget that. I'm not here to say who's right and wrong in that situation, but it's not fair to say that there weren't some shots lobbied back and forth. And, it was evidence to me of two sides. I think Marc-Andre Fleury clearly loved playing in Vegas. I think he performed great for the team by and large, but, it wasn't a completely happy marriage. So, I'm not surprised that they chose Robin Lehner over Fleury. Also, just he's younger and he signed for more years at a lower cap hit. And so, part of that is just projecting out a sort of medium term for their roster building. So, there's a fine line there, but you're right. Clearly there's not a lot of loyalty, but this is pro sports. And I think there's not a lot of loyalty in a lot of places, if we're being honest about the way decisions are made and some of the things that go down. Look at Minnesota, with Ryan Suter. And, in particular, I think Zach Parise was probably welcoming the change of locale, whereas Ryan Suter didn't really want to be bought out. I mean, it doesn't end too well for too many players in this league. I think that's just a fact.